All right. As a reminder, please put yourself on mute if you are not speaking to allow others the ability to speak clearly so everybody can be heard. Um, if you have not updated your IMATS password, please do that through the SAMS.gov website so you guys can have access to IMATS. This is our quarterly meeting for 2023, third quarter of BP4. And here's our agenda. It looks long, but it won't because we have a few briefings added today. But we will go through those. We'll go through our annual Strategic National Stockpile briefing. Beth's going to give that, and our Kimpac briefing. Greg's going to give that this morning. Then we'll hit our normal highlights and then work our way through. But we're going to go ahead and start off with a roll call. I took as many notes from the folks in the chat that I can see right now, and I'm sure I'll capture a few more, but let's go through that. We'll start with Anderson Hospital.
Phil Eric is here representing Anderson and Community Hospital Staunton.
Thank you, Eric. Alton Memorial.
Good morning, this is Aaron.
Gotcha, Aaron. Boyd.
Nancy's here.
Gotcha, Nancy. Good morning. Carlinville Area Hospital.
Tyler's here.
Gotcha, Tyler. And we got Staunton already. Fayette. I believe I see Tina. Gotcha. Tina, thank you. And Gateway, I know I heard Rick on. Who else we got from Gateway? Anyone else?
Rick's here, sorry.
No problem. Gotcha. Didn't know if Danielle was on as well. So, okay. All right. To our HSHS partners, Holy Family.
Cindy's here.
Gotcha, Cindy. St. Joseph's Breeze.
Stacy's here.
Gotcha, Stacy. And Highland.
Patrick.
Gotcha, Patrick. Appreciate it. And do we get St. E's? I think I know we got Brad on here.
Yep, I'm here. Thanks.
Gotcha, Brad. All right, Jersey.
Got Nathan from Jersey.
Gotcha, Nathan. I appreciate it. And where are we at on our list? Sorry. For Belleville here, you got myself, Lee, and Scott on. Mike, I think, is on another call right now, but I'm sure he'll join us soon. Memorial Hospital in Chester.
Hi, Phil. This is Georgia.
All right. So you're not going to watch on YouTube today. So
no, I can make it today.
Awesome. Glad to have you back live. OSF St. Anthony's.
Gary's here.
Got you, Gary. I appreciate it. Sparta. Sparta or Redbud. Sorry, I skipped over you.
Christy's here for Redbud.
All right. Gotcha, Christy. Thank you. And Touche.
Hi, Amy's here. Good morning.
Gotcha, Amy. Thank you. Over to our health department. Start with Bond County.
Wendy's here.
Gotcha, Wendy. Calhoun County.
Megan's here.
Thank you, Megan. Clinton. And Eastside Health District.
Charmaine is here with Eastside.
Gotcha, Charmaine. Thank you very much. Fayette.
Kendra here with Fayette.
Gotcha, Kendra. Thank you. Where are we at? Greene County.
Tracy from Greene.
Gotcha, Tracy. Thank you. And where are we at? Jersey. Sorry.
Heidi with Jersey.
Gotcha, Heidi. Thank you. Macoupin County.
Derek here.
Gotcha, Derek. Appreciate it. Madison County.
Jacob's here.
Gotcha, Jacob. Thank you. Monroe. One from Monroe. Randolph County.
Deborah's here.
Gotcha, Deborah. Thank you very much. And St. Clair County.
Good morning. Kara's here.
Gotcha, Kara. Over to our state and community partners, RMSC, Greg. have to mute whoever that was. I see Greg on, but I don't hear you, Greg. Shows you unmuted. So we'll give you a chance to get your audio square. Our ERC, Beth, you on?
Good morning, Phil. Beth is here.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any of our BJC partners? Once, twice, thrice. Okay. Any of our EMAs?
Good morning, Phil. This is Sam for St. Clair County EMA.
Gotcha, Sam. Thank you.
Keith Norman is here from Jersey EMA.
Gotcha, Keith. Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other EMA partners? Okay. Going down to MedStar Ambulance.
Good morning, Phil. John's here.
Gotcha, John. I
And
thought I saw Chuck. All right.
Chuck's in twice.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Abbott Ambulance. Anyone? Is Leslie on this morning? Nope. Okay. SLU Hospital. No one from SLU. All right. Scott Air Force Base. Scott this morning. Tim and those guys may be getting ready for exercises. Okay. And Stars. Anyone from Stars on this morning?
Hey,
Nope.
Phil,
Yes.
it's Greg. I got my mic working.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thanks. And just doubling back on Stars. Anyone from Stars? Nope. Okay. Anyone on who I know I see Jeremy Gotchheimer who's on. Any other folks that are on? I see Chief Whiteford got you as well. That were not called, but would make sure we want to get you reported.
Jeremiah Campbell, Rural Med.
Okay, I got you. Jeremiah, I appreciate it. Rural Med, excuse me. I see Kim Lampert on. Okay,
Carla
got
from
you,
Monroe
Kim.
County EMS.
And who was that? Say it again.
Carla from Monroe County EMS.
What's your last name, Carla?
Heisey.
Okay, yep, I got you. Sorry.
Hey, Phil, this is Marty from Region 5 RHCC.
Oh, awesome, Marty. Thanks for joining. And Danielle, I see Danielle jumped on. Okay, great. Got you, Danielle. All right. Anyone else, just go ahead and throw it in the chat or we'll catch you at the very end. We'll go ahead and get started this morning. Again, we're going to give briefings this morning. We're going to start off with our annual strategic national stockpile briefing and follow that up with our ChemPack briefing. So I'm going to turn this over to Beth Busman. Beth, just let me know when you want me to move the slides along, and I will, okay? So we'll start.
Sounds good, Phil.
Here.
Thanks.
No problem.
Good morning, everyone. Happy March 1st. As I understand, the first day of the meteorological spring. I'm very happy to hear that. This presentation, I know I've given it before. There will probably be some updates in the next year from the CDC because of all the lessons that we learned from COVID. But for now, we're going to just keep it the same until we get something official from CDC. So the title of this presentation is FEP 101. We're going to talk about the Strategic National Stockpile and the medical countermeasures. Next slide. So the purpose of the Strategic National Stockpile is to deploy medical material to community impacted by an emergency event. It can not only be a pandemic, but it could be a terrorist event or, just almost anything where you need supplies. It increases the lives saved in the community. The underlying assumption is that it will be deployed if and when all local and state resources are depleted, and if the event extensively impacts the community. Next slide. So there has to be a lot of planning and preparation with this kind of a plan. A multi-agency plan and response from local to state to federal. And we unfortunately have been doing this for the last 3 years. The core preparedness mission is pills in people or pills to people. That's for the anthrax event. And the idea is that you dispense to the citizens of Illinois as quickly as possible. The timing is crucial. Next slide. So in Illinois, we have 3 CRI regions. There is Chicago. It also includes some counties in Wisconsin and Indiana. The Missouri MSA is 5 counties indicated there. And then in Illinois, we have 9 jurisdictions, 8 counties in Illinois, and 8 local health departments in Missouri. We all plan and practice together. Next slide. So there are different ways to implement this process. The first one is what they call the broad spectrum support, or the 12-hour push package. So this is utilized when you know there's something going on in the region, you're not quite sure what it is. Instead of asking for specific material, you just ask for the push package, and it's got a little bit of everything in it. These packages are pre-positioned throughout the United States. 100 specialized cargo containers, and there's a picture of one there. 8 semi-tractor trailers, that's how much is included. And mainly it's broad spectrum support based on Category A agents for post-exposure prophylaxis and treatment. The Category A agents are things like, the big one that we worry about is anthrax. But then there are others included too. Next slide. The next level is what we call managed inventory. So this would be if you have an event, again, such as the pandemic, you know what you need to mitigate the problems. So you ask for specific items, managed inventory. Things that may include, of course, are vaccines, PPE, buying power with surge capacity, and it also includes a federal medical contingency station. Next slide. So these are the kind of things that could be included in your anything you get from the SNS. Again, I know I'm preaching to the choir. You guys all just went through this, but these are some examples of things that we could ask and receive. Things for IV administration, airway, pediatric containers, equipment such as ventilators and suction units. And we definitely use these over the last few years. Next slide. So this is some information about what they call the Federal Medical Contingency Station. This would be utilized if there's an all-hazard mass casualty care event. Typically, what I think about is earthquake, a New Madrid earthquake, or if there's a large tornado. Federal level contingency care program. The surge capability is available throughout the U.S. These stations are also pre-positioned, and they can be configured to respond to a variety of public health emergencies. Another example is what the CDC calls a field hospital, or type 3. it is utilized, or it is planned that it will house 250 patients. The goal in the United States is to have 138 of these hospitals pre-positioned. That number may have changed. I couldn't find out, but that's the goal. Next slide. So the Strategic National Stockpile Program, this is basically the basics of how it works. At the federal level, the SNS assets are deployed. That goes through operations and logistics. From there, it is sent to the RSS warehouse, which is receipt, stage, and I thought it was storing. Here it says shipping. And RDC, which is Regional Distribution Center. So in Illinois, we have a plan. I think everybody probably knows now that one of our RSS locations is in Peoria. We have other locations throughout the state as well. And from there, we ship to the locals. So that would include dispensing sites, primarily for local health departments. And then, of course, in some cases, we ship directly to hospitals. Next slide. So this is the request process. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you guys did this multiple times in the last few years. But basically, you have to coordinate with your EMA. If you need something, the hospital requests to the local health department after you have requested from your RHCC. And if they don't have it, then you go to the state. So the hospital requests to local health department requests to their EMA. EMA then sends it up to the SCOC. Next slide. Again, this is what I just said. Sorry, I got ahead of myself here. Next slide. Okay, deployment options. So this is something that we did during H1N1. There are different ways to do it. The metered package, in the first 7 days, you get 25% of your allocated quantity. So what they're talking about is CDC would send this 25% of Illinois' allocation to Illinois in the first 7 days. The next 7 days, they get another 25%. And then 7 to 10 days after that, you get your remaining 50%. They let us know about this for planning purposes. The idea is that you use it as you get it, put it in your storage, get it back out of the storage, out to the locals, and it's just good for planning purposes. Another way to do it is sequential. So again, this would be typical of what we did for the pandemic, except it wasn't quite in this order. Part one, you send 100% of what you would need for your antivirals. The next shipment, you get 100% of your PPE. And then the next part three, you get 100% of everything else that you might need. These are examples of planning that the CDC and the state have done. I suspect that this may change when the feds update their plans. Next slide. This is just ideas for the locals to combat shortage of resources. Again, I know I'm preaching to the choir. We just went through this. But the idea is to reach out to all agencies and private organizations in your community. I know we got very creative there for a while, especially regarding PPE. Create a repository of resources. web-based applications are available. Meet regularly with all your partners. That is one good thing about the COVID response was I feel like although we have had a lot of turnover, the relationships have definitely strengthened with all your local partners. Involve public, non-for-profit, private organizations, plan regionally and across the regions, sustain and maintain. And this is important for things that expire. And in some cases, even though they expire, as we learned, you may not want to dispose of them as routinely those expiration dates are extended. The plan regionally and across regions, that's one of the reasons that we have these quarterly meetings and sometimes monthly meetings and exercises with the entire coalition is this is so critical that we plan regionally and across the regions. Next slide. Local dispensing goals. So this is the Pills and People. Sometimes we call it the 48-hour mission. The idea is that we provide prophylaxis to the entire population in the jurisdiction in 48 hours. Now, for my health departments, we have discussed this at length. Actually, the time for the locals is not 48 hours, but it's crunched down to 24 hours. Next slide, I think that explains it. Nope, no, it doesn't. Okay, go back one more because I want to touch on this. So an anthrax event, if the terrorists come and spread anthrax, I'm knocking on wood here, in the St. Louis region, we're not going to know about right away. As people start to get sick, they will go to their doctor or to the hospital, to the emergency department. But the problem is the symptoms are very similar to normal influenza. So we have processes in place using syndromic surveillance, looking at, as you all know, the bed counts to see if we think that a problem is arising. By the time we figure this out, we would call the CDC, even if we suspect it, and say, hey, I think we've got something going on here. So we would request the SNS. The feds have told us to plan 12 hours. It's going to take 12 hours for them to get the antibiotics to the state. Once the state receives it, our plan is to get this out to the locals, and we estimate that's going to take 12 hours. Now that leaves 24 hours left to, quote, get the pills in people. After 48 hours, if someone is exposed to anthrax, the fatality rate jumps dramatically. That's why we call it the 48-hour mission. So that gives local health departments and your hospitals, the closed pods, 12 hours to get all the antibiotics out to your jurisdiction. So that's the plan. I know we kind of got away from that a little bit with the pandemic, so I just wanted to bring it up again for the new people and to remind those of us that have done this or practiced it. And that's all I have, Phil, unless we have any questions.
Thank you, Beth. And we will pause here for questions for Beth if you do have some to gain a little bit more clarity on the SNS process and mission. Any questions for Beth?
I just had one quick question. This is Aaron. When it came down to an event and you were dispensing agents, what would be the mode of transportation? Would it be land-based or would it be air-based? Would it involve potentially the Air National Guard?
Probably not the Air National Guard. The feds use well, they won't tell us, but I'm pretty sure they have planes, and I know they have semis. Just depends on where they're storing it and where they have to ship it to. I do know that it's escorted by federal marshals, and once the state takes hold of it, then we reload it, repackage it, and ship it out to the local jurisdiction.
The Fed would have land, air, and ground access. So,
Yes, yeah.
Thanks for that, Beth. Great question, Aaron. Anyone else with questions on the SNS program? All right, hearing none. Thanks, Beth. We'll return to you here in a bit, but we're going to go ahead and move on to Greg's portion, and we're going to talk about the state's ChemPAC program. All right, Greg?
Good morning, everybody. I know a lot of you have seen this in the past. It is a requirement that annual training on the state's ChemPAC program be given. A couple things I wanted to highlight with this is to remind everybody that while we're going to do an overview of the state program, that we have a regional program for ChemPAC that I think Phil just sent out maybe a week or two ago. So there is a regional plan. And for those of you at the EMS level and the hospital level, you should actually have a ChemPAC plan and ChemPAC training that you are providing to your employees. Hospitals to the ED, since that where the first request may come from, also with your pharmacies, and EMS with their providers in the field. The other thing that I wanted to touch on is Beth just went into the 48-hour mission with 12-hour transport, 12-hour transport, excuse me, and 24 hours pills into people, which is quite a task to do. I want to remind everybody that ChemPAC seconds and minutes count in getting these drugs to affected people. Next slide, Phil. So what is ChemPAC? It is a program of ASPR and the Strategic National Stockpile. It's a federal program that's managed at the state level inside the Illinois Department of Public Health Preparedness and Response and Medical Countermeasures Program. It is forward placement of the nerve antidotes that are used for organophosphate poisoning. In Illinois, we place these resources at specific hospitals. Next slide. So what are nerve agents? They're highly poisonous chemicals that prevent the nervous system from working properly. They can either be chemical or terrorists or organophosphate agricultural pesticides, which are used in our region and would probably be the most likely exposure to citizens. Immediate treatment with the pharmaceutical intervention is required. That's why I say seconds and minutes count, followed, of course, by long-term care. Next slide. Okay, so these are some of the chemical weapons and pesticides. Sarin is probably the most known because there was an attack in Japan and their subway system with sarin gas, I believe it was. And then, of course, pesticides and herbicides. Parathion, malathion, some of those, came under a lot of scrutiny as to their effects in the environment. So these are the kinds of things that might be used in farms, might be in tanker cars on trains, that kind of thing. Next slide. So what happens to people who are exposed to these? So it takes just a very small amount for the nerve agent to be highly toxic if it's inhaled, swallowed, comes in contact with your skin or eyes. They can have extreme side effects. Those symptoms, salivation, tearing, tightness of chest, and mild exposure, difficulty breathing and nausea and moderate. And then involuntary salivation, urination, defecation. These are the people who have gotten an extreme exposure and who could die within minutes from being exposed to this. Next slide. So what are drugs are effective against these chemical nerve agents? Well, atropine. I think most of atropine. It does block the excess acetylcholine that is released. Pralidoxime, or 2-PAM as it's called, reactivates the acetylcholine esterase, so thereby reducing levels of acetylcholine. That is what the acetylcholine esterase actually does. And then diazepam for agitation and convulsions. Next slide. So here's what a ChemPack looks like. They're limited antidotes at local pharmacies and hospitals, but there isn't an adequate supply in a large-scale incident. They come in special packaging for quick use in the field or the hospital emergency room. Next slide. This is what the ChemPack container looks like. It's large, it rolls on wheels, and this is what is kept at the hospitals who have ChemPack containers. Next slide. So there is EMS container. These are for the medications that need to be used out in the field, that exposure at the site where that exposure occurred. 85% of the EMS package is auto injectors, and there's enough for an intended number of 454 casualties. The hospital container, or the hospital load, is actually are the ones that are used in the emergency room, and 85% of those are actually packaged in multi-dose vials, and it is intended for 1,000 casualties. Now, you have to understand 1,000 casualties may not be enough, because you may be giving multiple doses to the same person to control their symptoms. Next slide. So this is what the ChemPack container contains. I'll let you just kind of look down. I'm not going to read it all back to you, but the main auto injectors are either the Atnas or the Duodotes. Atna, I hope I'm saying that right, military fill, are actually the military supply, while Duodotes are the civilian supply. When the Mark I's were replaced by the federal government, they didn't have enough Duodotes, so I believe they sent everyone in the ChemPacks the Atnas. I do not know whether we have had an exchange out since then for Duodotes, but just so you know, you may run into either type in the ChemPack container. Next slide. Okay, so the state of Illinois ChemPack program. The ChemPack assets are forward placed in geographically dispersed locations. So we, in our specific EMS region, have 2 locations. There's one EMS and one hospital container. And the stakeholder roles and responsibilities are defined in the state of Illinois plan. Next slide. Okay, so the state of Illinois ChemPack plan, the purpose of the plan is to provide operational guidance to state and local authorities for the storage, maintenance, and utilization of the chemical nerve agent antidotes. Operational guidance, roles and responsibilities of the partners in the state at both the regional and local tiers, and then storage, maintenance, and utilization of the nerve agent antidotes. Next slide. Okay, so the federal government owns the assets. They provide guidance to manage the program. They evaluate and improve site locations. They actually monitor the sites 24/7. They do conduct periodic inspections, so that has actually been cut down due to some budget constraints and then, of course, the pandemic. And they also administer the shelf life extension program, which they extend the life of some of these medications in the Kenpack after they test them and find that they have not lost their effectiveness. What the state does is they coordinate the distribution of the assets. They oversee the receipt, storage, maintenance, monitoring, etc. They schedule the site visits to the cache sites. That is made by somebody from the federal government along with myself. They maintain and update the state plan. They ensure availability of annual training, coordination of temporary positioning of assets. So let's say the Cubs are in the World Series, which will probably never happen again, but should they, and they felt like they needed Kenpack assets closer to Wrigley Field, the state coordinates that because there might have been a terrorist threat that they picked up. Next slide.
Just wait till next year.
So the actual cache sites, they provide a secure and controlled environment. They maintain the protocols for distributing assets when local resources are gone. They maintain current contact lists and SEMP, and they also ensure annual training to the appropriate hospital staff, which is what I was talking about, especially ED and pharmacy. So they're aware. Same thing with the hospitals. They're going to maintain protocols for requesting assets. So you need to incorporate the regional plan into your local plan or your facility plan. They're maintaining their contact list and also ensuring annual training. Next slide. EMS. So they likewise are maintaining protocols for requesting the assets using the regional plan as a map or framework. They are going to request the Kenpack assets as necessary. They'll administer Kenpack assets in the field according to treatment protocols, and then also ensure that there is training for their appropriate staff. Next slide. So local police, and this may be different from region to region. They have protocols for transporting the assets from the cache site, that's the Kenpack hospital, to another hospital or to the field. Now, some regions may use a sheriff's department. Some regions may have set up other means of transportation, but it needs to be someone who is able to transport those as quickly as possible with little regard to maintaining, let's say, a 30-mile-an-hour zone. So it's kind of why it's landed in law enforcement's lap, but as I said, that doesn't work every region, and our regional plan addresses those issues. Next slide. So Kenpack activation. Okay, so Kenpack assets are activated when local supplies will be exhausted quickly. More than 50 people are affected, and I will tell you, if there is less than 50 people, then there are no supplies. Kenpack should still be activated. And the health of the community is threatened. And when I say less than 50 people, if we have like an incident in which 25 people were exposed and there are no assets to get, then you would still activate it. I'm not talking about Redbud Regional Hospital just use their last whatever. They should be reaching out to another hospital to get those supplies reinstated, and it's not about just a manner of getting something replaced. It's more of an incident has occurred. Next slide. So here's the Kenpack Communications. The state loves to make these things. You can follow it for activation for EMS, for hospitals, for non-Kenpack hospitals. I believe this pathway is also in our regional plan, if I remember. Next slide. So if you look at our regional Kenpack plan, you will see the phone number of our 2 Kenpack sites that you need to reach out to activate. It would probably be activated by EMS in the field or by possibly the charge nurse in your emergency department. But once again, that's what you need to figure into your local facility plan. So monitoring the Kenpack cash sites, it's done 24/7. There are special telephones called Sensophones. They send messages automatically, I believe, to Atlanta, and they monitor the temperature and any security breaches. Next slide. So as we said, the feds do a periodic site visit to the sites to inspect the containers and equipment, and they also arrange to rotate expired medicines out. A lot of those are now happening by drop shipment, where they're actually sending the medications to the cash sites. The pharmacists at the cash sites exchange them out and mail them back immediately, the expired ones, to the federal government. Next slide. So responsibilities and after action. Participate in preparation of after action report to evaluate Kenpack requesting, receiving treatment, and demob in the field. Contribute to an improvement plan. This is after Kenpack would be activated. And then, of course, look at the recommendations and make any changes to protocols and SOPs. It's another reason why we run exercises, is to try to identify any issues during those exercises and then make adjustments. Next slide, please. Okay, so it's all a partnership. They need to develop relationships with the regional and local partners. I think you know all of that. Maintain local Kenpack plans and protocols and revise as needed. Next slide. Training. So you need to ensure that appropriate people in EMS and emergency departments do receive this training. And also you can complete the IDPH Kenpack training modules as needed. Next slide. Participate in state, regional, and local exercises. Next. We already talked about the improvement plan. Next slide. So these are the modules that are available on iTrain for education on the Kenpack program. So module 1 is an overview of the Kenpack program, sort of like what you're getting right now. Module 2 is specific education for the RHCCs. Module 3 for the REMSCs, which is myself and my counterparts throughout the state. Module 4 for the actual Kenpack sites. Module 5 for the hospitals that are not Kenpack sites but would be requesting from the Kenpack sites. And then module 6 for EMS. Next slide. So this is the Kenpack distribution in the Edwardsville region. We do ask that we don't make this information public. It used to be super secret. Now it's just down to secret, if we kind of could. But as you see here, the Kenpack hospitals listed across: Memorial Hospital in Belleville, Anderson Hospital in Maryville. These are their assigned Kenpack sites. If you look down, you can see your hospital or your EMS system, if you are an ambulance provider. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Just want to let you know that Fayette County Hospital is part of Salem Township's Kenpack because they are closer than they would be to Anderson Hospital. And Carlinville has Memorial Medical Center because they are closer to Memorial and Springfield than they are to Anderson. And this is, the part where I say seconds and minutes count on getting this medications out. That is why they are assigned to different hospitals in actual different regions. Next slide. Any questions?
All right, looks like we got a few hands up. Tina, go ahead.
Greg, I just have one question.
Yes.
So for the iTrain, where that information is, all of our employees that need to go through those modules, and I think you develop those, would need to register an iTrain. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So will there be a link after this meeting or something that somebody could send out for them to register to go in and complete these modules?
Sure. I will get the link. I will send it to Phil and he can send it to his distribution list. Does that sound good?
That's perfect, because I'll admit it's been a while since I've actually accessed the site.
Okay, please don't worry about my voice and that was my very first acting job at the state studio.
Any other questions for Greg? Okay, I would just like to reiterate a few things that Greg said. He's absolutely right when it comes to seconds and minutes matter. We did our modified Kenpack. I'm gonna say functional, was as close as full scale we can get without having all the patients, as we were trying to do that years prior, but COVID stopped. But we did last year on April 29th, we did an exercise, and thanks to the good folks from MedStar who participated, John and other folks who participated with that. Staunton Hospital, Anderson Hospital, and Eric. We had some lofty goals with getting our Kenpack out in the field. The target for the plan was 30 minutes, and we did not meet that target. We were right around the 1 hour time frame. So, and we thought of some creative ways to get those assets out to the outer line communities. But nonetheless, there's so many moving parts that it is imperative that your emergency departments and pharmacies are really clued in on what they need to do when they get that call from EMS or another hospital for that matter. So please double down and make sure that you got internal plans, policies, procedures, however your organization would like to handle that, and education. That's the most important part. Even if you don't have a full plan, if you can keep people in the know, that's gonna shave minutes when someone understands. If somebody doesn't understand it, that charge nurse in the ED, and somebody says Kimpac and it's his or her first day, they're going to really, really struggle with whatever steps are required next to ensure that that EMS provider, that fire department or out there on the front line or hospital receives those assets in a timely fashion. So I will forward a copy when I send the minutes out this afternoon. I will forward a copy of the after action report that we did last year, so you can kind of see what that is, what that looks like, along with a copy of the current plan to follow up with the information that was provided today. Because again, while it's a low probability, we look at in the HVA or whatever, it's a low probability of a wide event occurring. If and when that does happen, we have to react unified and very rapidly. So thanks to Beth and Greg for providing insight and an overview of both of the SNS program and then specifically the Kimpac program. I just pray we never have to use it. But if we do have to use it, I hope we're going to try to make sure that we're ready to use that and get it out to who needs it. Lastly, about Kimpac program, we are scheduled to have a Kimpac communication drill. So, and we have to have it by the end of this week. So it's supposed to be a no notice exercise, and it's just a communication drill. So lots of phone calls that will occur. So no later than the 5th of this month, which is, or excuse me, the 3rd of this month. So take it for how you how you want, but that's going to be really soon. So folks, hopefully you guys are ready to respond when that notification goes out. Use those cheat sheets that we have in the Kimpac plan to make sure that you're able to communicate properly. So any questions? Last chance for Kimpac or SNS. Anything? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on with our regularly scheduled program. And back to you, Greg. We'll boomerang it back to you. Any IDPH, RMSC words this month?
I'm just going to cover two things real quick in reference to the time we already used up. So just wanted to let you guys know that Dan Lee, the data guy, will be coming back on a 75-day contract sometime in March. I do not know what his schedule will be because having a 75-day contract means he's not going to be working full-time 5 days a week. So we'll have to wait to hear what date he comes back and what hours he will be available. But he will hopefully be able to take care of some of our data needs. And when they hopefully hire a new person to replace him, he will be able to provide some training. The other announcement is, I think most of you know that Ashley Taylor, the division EMS and Highway Safety, the division chief, has been holding down 2 jobs. She's also the deputy chief operating officer of IDPH. From what I've heard, they have hired her replacement. Will be starting March 16th. The state never shares names until they're absolutely certain they're walking through the door on March 16th. So as soon as they become absolutely sure, I'm certain they will send out a general announcement to all of EMS and the hospitals regarding who that replacement will be. But Ashley's, I think, done a great job. I think she is going to do a little training of the new person as well, so she won't be gone come March 16th, but the transition is moving forward. A lot of people have asked that question. And other than that, that's all I got, Phil.
No problem. It's our quarterly meeting. We got time. Thanks, Greg. Any questions for Greg? Okay, hearing none, we'll move over back to Beth for any health department updates.
Good morning again. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. Again, interest of time, as Greg said, just a couple of things. To review where we're at with COVID. In the region on the Illinois side, we're still in high, substantial, or moderate community transmission. I know just in the last few weeks, there have been some outbreaks in some of the congregate settings that the local health departments are working through with support from IDPH. But I will also say I just looked at some data, and the fatalities are really dropping just within the last week or two. So that's good news. The only other thing I had is we just did some siren training for the region. A lot of local health departments, a few hospitals participated. I'm going to try to get something set up again for June. But in the meantime, if you have not logged into Siren lately, you might want to go in there and update, make sure that your contact information is correct. If you have anyone from your facility that is still listed in Siren, but they're not in that position anymore, or they have left, let us know so that we can kind of clean that up. And that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you, Beth. All right. Any questions for Beth? All right. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on. Any folks from STARS join while we were going on and would like to brief? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move over. No updates for mental health unless someone would like to provide an update. Well, I guess I'll say this. I think we have our last CISM course coming up. I thought it was 13th, 14th. Yeah, strategic response to crisis. We'll talk about that, I guess on the upcoming events, but that is the next course. And I think it's our final for the year. All right. Pediatrics.
Hey, Phil, it's
Oh, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
yeah, so that is the last professional development class for CISM, but I did want to, I figured I'd mention, over last month has been our busiest month for CISM. We have been doing 2 to 3 debriefings or diffusings a week throughout the month of February. So all of the guys and gals that came through the group and individual debriefing class that we did in January, they all got their in-person training with our guys from our CISM team. But we've been extremely busy with those folks, and the applications for children's and CISM was a really good class on how to start looking at using CISM with kids in crisis. So it was a really good class.
Thanks, Mike, for the feedback. All right, pediatrics. Anything, Scott, on the pediatrics this month, or is he off?
I'm here.
Gotcha.
I don't have anything new in regards to pediatrics.
Okay, no worries. We'll move on. Remer, Mike. Mike, if you dropped off, you drop off.
No, I'm here.
Go ahead.
We're just continuing to plan for lots of events that we're helping out with, and a lot of training that we're working on. So just staying busy and trying to get our guys queued up on all the training that's happening between the coalition and some training STARS is bringing in now. So.
Copy that. Thank you. All right, we'll move on just to a few new things, and we're pretty close to closing out here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about HVA. Just as a reminder, the HVAs were due back to send to info@swellhelp.org no later than 2/28/23, which was yesterday. Also, again, as a reminder, the SIMP is open. So for everyone who has an active account, you can complete your HVA there. I'm going to move on to the Shell Dust program. As a part of our budget this past year, we spent some money on the Spatial Hazard Events Losses Database for the United States. Shell Dust, it is a program that's managed by Arizona State University Center for Emergency Management and Homeland Security. What it basically provides is it provides a plethora of data with regard to significant weather events and whatever losses were incurred by that, fatalities, injuries, property damage, and crop damage. It tells you where that incident took place, when it took place, the type of losses experienced, also what triggered it, and a little bit of miscellaneous data for like presidentially, federally declared disasters, et cetera. And all that information is downloadable and information that you can use to consolidate when doing like hazard vulnerability assessments. The benefits to us getting an institutional account is that, and here's like an example, one I did for St. Clair County several years ago, as a matter of fact, where it kind of tells you, drought, like you see the categories: droughts, floods, hail, heat, lightning, tornadoes, etc. And the damage is how many events you had over a given set of time. And you can crunch that information. If you can kind of see on this website on the right there, you can kind of see that there's a price associated with that. So to pull that information, so if you can see all that, if I were to pull all of the information I did across our region, so the 11 counties across our entire region from 1960 to 2022, and aggregate that information, et cetera, pull all that information. You can see it's like a cost around $1,600 to do that. We paid for some of that data when we were working on HVA in the past. So now with an institutional account or nonprofit institutional account, anyone with a swellhelp.org email can access this and not be charged. So you can get aggregate data and not be charged for it. So all of the hospitals have it, and then have access to a swellhelp.org email account, and a few other key partners have those accounts. So you can do the same thing. So if you have a hospital in a county, and let's say your local health department wants to, or local EMA wants to get some of this data, just partner with your local hospital who has an account, and they can use that for basically for free. So great information, nonprofit use. So you guys will have access. We'll do more about this later, but I want to let you know that it is available now. I'll put a link to it. I will say this, I did double check it this morning, and they still haven't, they just started their version 21, which we should be a part of. They do it by versioning, not by years or anything like that for the for access. While we have access to the 21 data, it's still showing us a fee that has to be provided or paid. I'm working with them now to make sure the account is fully set up, so when you're able to log in, you won't be charged or asked for $1,600 to get that information. But great information that you can use in your HVAs. All right. Any questions on that? I'm sorry, I don't want to move over it too quickly. Any questions? All right, no questions. Our due outs or open tasks that we had on the minutes last time. So I know we had the one on there about checking the administrative code to see if that information can, or if federal dollars can be used for the disaster bags or the EMS bags as outlined in the state statute or the EMS Act and in the ESF 8 plan. Greg, did we get any clarity on that?
Say again, Phil.
Sorry.
I was asking, did we get any
Clarity on the-
clarity on the use of grant funds to purchase the EMS disaster bags?
No, I did not get. Let me check again. I'm trying to remember if I sent the email and never got a response. Because that's a requirement in the act, so I'm not sure that would be, but let me double check.
No problem. Appreciate it. Last two down here, establishing basically a formal agreement between our coalition and the St. Louis Coalition on vacant training vacancies or last minute training vacancies. Lee, did you and Jason ever rendezvous on that at all specific topic?
Yeah, I've addressed this during several of the St. Louis Healthcare Coalition calls. I'll actually be addressing it again next week. And they're receptive. They're multiple members of their coalition receive our email blasts and notifications. So it's really just trying to who's available that can send people to things. We are working it to try to accommodate. But just on that note, I know there was no one from STARS on earlier, but there is a project ongoing right now with the UASC side of the funding to use some effectively washout funds from that side to develop what they're calling an emergency management academy for public health and healthcare that will be something for those folks that are other duties is assigned. This will help give them the skills and the knowledge to be able to understand all of the different regulations and requirements and ICS and everything else that goes along with the terms emergency management. It's still very, 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 very early in the process, but it is something that they're putting some money towards, and it is potentially going to be of a benefit to us. I sit on that working group. We're still, like I said, just getting that started, but hopefully we'll have more information over the next couple of months on that one.
All right, thanks. And then last one was hospitals without STEMP access. So I don't know. I know we had, I think it was Redbud with Christy. I don't know if she has access fully now. Tara or Christy, do you guys know if you guys have access? And does anyone else from a hospital standpoint require access still?
I do not have access as far as I know.
And who was that? I'm sorry. Was that Christy?
I'm sorry, Christy from Redbud.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and Greg so you'll just have to, again, if you haven't sent Greg that note, I thought I saw something. He will reply back and then we'll get you set up. So just send me and Greg an email just as a reminder so we don't forget. We want to make sure that you get access to it. Any other hospitals without access?
I'm not 100% sure if we do here over in Carlinville.
It was with other people, so I would say you probably need to resend who needs access. So need a name, phone number, and an email address, and then I will send the invite. The invite will go out to you, and that will let you set up an account. And then once you do set up the account, you just let us know, and we will go in and do the security access for you.
All right, I'll send you and Phil an email here shortly on that then with my contact info.
Perfect.
Okay.
And I see Eric's hand. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, Phil, do we know how long SEMP is going to be around? I've heard that's been on the deathbed for about a year.
Yeah, Greg could probably talk to more than I can, but I know the other contract and it was funded. I don't know how long the contract was funded for. Greg, do you have any specifics on that?
I was not told other than it was re-signed. I do not know how long. That would be for the SEMP HPP side. For the SEMP EMS side, I do not believe that contract has been signed yet. So they're not telling us anything for sure, but they definitely have not told us, yes, SEMP is around for many years to come. So I'm sorry, I can't give you a better answer than that.
That's all right. I mean, I haven't been on that for a minute for quite some time, simply because of the fact that I kind of shrugged my shoulders and said it's going to go away anyway. So I was just wondering if there was more information.
Got it. All right. And that concludes the due outs. Upcoming events. These are the upcoming events we got. The Strategic Response Crisis course, which will be going on in 2 weeks. We got a lot of decon courses out there. Next one's April 4th here. Next coalition meeting is on the 5th of April. That Moulage course going on 4 and 5 April at Alton. Still believe that's going on. All right. more first receiver decon courses April 17th. That DLX field hospital demo at the VA is going on Jefferson Barracks 25-26. Apologize for saying that. First receiver decon course, another one at Gateway April 28th. Scott Air Force Base Air Show 13th and 14th of May. And the exercise is actually, which is not on here, is going to be on the 16th of March in preparation for that. The Mercy, we're still targeting July 12th, right after Independence Day, the week following. Another decon course in July here at Memorial. And then get your glasses out, your 3D glasses, so you can look at the solar eclipse. I've said that in jest. On April 8th, 2024, I'm sure state planning will start to begin again for that. I know REMERT will be required again, so we can get back out there to our folks in the Marion region for all the celebration and maybe concerts and the like. A lot of lessons learned still from that back in 2017. So any questions?
Bill,
Yes, go ahead.
I've been added to the planning committee for the eclipse. I know I'm specifically doing communication, but I am on the planning committee for the eclipse at the state level.
Got it. All right. Any questions about upcoming events or any upcoming events that someone would like to let the coalition know about?
Phil, this is Nancy at Boyd. Is the summit canceled again?
It is. I'm sorry. I did scratch that out. And yeah, Beth or Greg, correct if I'm wrong, but it is officially canceled. Is that
for June?
Correct. That
Okay.
time frame right there is done. So yeah, if things change post, I'm gonna say 5/11, after the presidential declaration and things change, maybe they'll push something out and have another one this calendar year, but if not, maybe next year. We'll see.
Okay.
Any other events anyone would like to share?
Bill, I'll get you a schedule of the events at the racetrack. They're going to have the typical 4 big events, which are the NHRA, the IndyCar series, the NASCAR series, but they've also added an additional series, which will have a pretty decent population influx into the area. So anything that's going to have large crowds, I'll get you those dates so you can go ahead and put those on there.
Perfect. Thanks, Brad. I'm putting that out on the task list too. Okay. Anyone else?
Bill, this is Stacy from Breeze. I just have a question. So I have signed up for some of those courses in April. And if somebody else wants to join me, how do I add them? Like there's some like security people here or maintenance people that may want to join. How do I add them in?
For which course specifically?
So like I'm gonna do the decon in April, the first part of April, or the last part of April, sorry. And then I'm gonna do the all hazards.
Okay. So all you have to do, and I don't know how, if Lee, just correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if the all hazards is filled or not, but if you go to that link in the in Member Planet or whichever one of those links that you're on there, they can sign up independently. They don't have to be in Member Planet to sign up. It should be open for any and everybody. So if you really just need the links, we can send those back out. But yeah, if they sign up, or if you click on it and sign up for them and put their information in, we'll expect to see them on that day. So
Okay.
And to your point, Phil, the All Hazards Moulash course is currently full.
okay. So that one is filled. Yeah. We don't want to have any surprise show ups for some of those, but yeah, the that link is an open link for anyone who has it. So I kind of asked not for folks to just fully share it out there, but if you have folks that want to attend, just go ahead and put their information in, name and contact info, and that helps.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll
No
be
problem.
putting out an email with the links to all of the decon classes here very shortly.
Perfect. All right. Anything from around Coalition?
Hey, Phil.
What's that?
I just wanted to kind of, I guess, add in with the last slide. Everybody should have gotten an email yesterday with all of the upcoming site assessment or site assistant visits. However we have it labeled anymore, I'm not entirely sure, but that's from April all the way out through July, I believe it is. So if you would like a visit, just go ahead and follow the links and click on and sign up. And I will be getting back with you. I know, at least last I looked, about half the people had looked into it. But I just wanted to remind everybody that did go out, and that is for all of the visits that I have set up through July.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else from around the coalition? I see Tina, your hand. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to Scott because your site assessment was awesome, clarified a lot of things, and it's just great to have somebody come on site and look to see what we have and what we might need to improve upon.
Well, thanks for that, Tina. And if there are things that we can improve upon in the process, just let us know, and we'll be more than happy to try to accommodate as best as possible. All right. Last chance. Anyone? Once, twice, thrice? All right. Well, we're going to end it here. I'd like to thank everybody, and we will see you next month on the 5th. Everybody, take care.